We have a crisis in the world, tremendous crisis, and also crisis in our consciousness, in us. I see the urgency of change, radical revolution, mutation in the mind. I see it. It is necessary. There is complete quietness of the mind, and that which is silent has vast space. Only then that which is nameless comes into being.
This is Urgency of Change, the Krishnamurti podcast. As long as the mechanical way of living continues, there must be degeneration of the human mind and heart, and in the society in which we live. Hello and welcome to episode 263 of Urgency of Change. Each episode of the Krishnamurti podcast is based on a significant theme of Krishnamurti's talks. Extracts from the archives have been selected to represent Krishnamurti's different approaches to these universal and timelessly relevant topics. This episode's theme is mechanical living. Upcoming topics are talent, intuition, and artificial intelligence. This is a podcast from Krishnamurti Foundation Trust. Please visit our website at kfoundation.org, where you can find a popular collection of quotes, a variety of featured articles, along with a wide selection of curated material in the index of topics, allowing easy access to book, audio and video extracts. Our online store stocks the best of Krishnamurti's books and ships worldwide. We also offer free downloads, including a selection of booklets. You can also find our regular Krishnamurti quotes and videos on Instagram, TikTok and Facebook at Krishnamurti Foundation Trust. If you enjoy the podcast, please leave a review or rating on your podcast app. This episode on mechanical living has 3 sections. This first extract is from Krishnamurti's first talk in Bombay 1974 and is titled, Are You Living Mechanically?
A mind that is mechanical cannot create a new world. And we are concerned with bringing about a different world. Because this world as we live in now is utter chaos, insane. A world of suffering, misery, selfishness, complete concern with oneself, one's own salvation, one's own success. And we are saying, as long as that mind is mechanical, living only within the field of the known, you cannot possibly create a different world. Therefore, you have to understand yourself, not according to some psychologist, not according to some religious book or guru, but to learn about oneself. Whether you are living a mechanical life, when you perform rituals, that's mechanical, isn't it? When you trot off to your temples, which are pretty dirty and ugly, that's part of your routine, part of your mechanical mind. When you follow your gurus and their interpretation of what is called a sacred book, then you're merely following tradition. It's part of mechanical. Find out for yourself where knowledge is and the beginning of a mind that is free from the mechanical habits. And to do that, you have to understand the whole movement of thought. Not as an abstraction, but as a reality. What is your thinking? What is your thinking based on? What do you mean by thinking? Is thinking non-mechanical, or is it always mechanical? Do investigate it. Together we are doing it now. And in that investigation, share. Don't sit there and just listen and go to sleep. Share in that investigation. Whether your mind is mechanical. Mechanical means like a machine that goes on and on, repeating. That there is God, no God, that there is karma, there is reincarnation, that you must have a family, that you are an Indian, that you are God knows what else. All that's mechanical. And as long as that mechanical way of living continues, there must be degeneration of the human mind and heart and the society in which it lives. And the religious mind is the mind that lives in the non-mechanical way of living and yet functions in the mechanical world. You have understood? So it means living in a world where perception is instant action. Instant action, when you see something, is non-mechanical. Look, sir, the mechanical way of living is you are violent. That's a fact. Non-violence is an abstraction from the fact. Right? Moving away from the fact. And when you live according to an abstraction, that is mechanical. That abstraction is the conclusion made by the mind, by thought. Thought is mechanical. Whereas when you see violence in yourself, perceive it, and act, that's not mechanical. In that there is no ideation, no conclusion, no postponement. There is instant act when you see it. The perception is non-mechanical. Right? Are we communicating with each other? So, a mind has to function in the field of knowledge as thought. But when that thought creates an abstraction, then you live in that world mechanically. So, seeing is the doing. when you see for yourself that you are violent, when you get angry, violent, sexually, in so many ways, violence isn't merely physical action. Violence implies conformity. Violence implies competition. Violence implies when you are ambitious. And when you see that and to act, that action is non-mechanical. Has the speaker explained it enough? Explain. Now wait a minute. The description is not the described. Right? The word is not the thing. What is real is acting. And perception is always in the present. Not that I have perceived and therefore act according to that. That is mechanical. Whereas seeing, doing. Therefore action has a totally different meaning. In that there is no cause-effect. No, this is too much. Hold on. I drop it. You all believe in karma, don't you? God knows why, but you believe in it, don't you? That is cause, effect. You do this and you pay for it. Or you do this and there's some profit and so on and so on. Now, that is mechanical. Whereas seeing, which is non-motivated, which is not seeking a result. Seeing is instant and there is action. In that action there is no cause and effect. It's a movement. God, how can I explain this? So there is a way of living which is mechanical, that is the exercise of thought, logically, sanely, reasonably, and perceiving, acting, which then becomes non-mechanical, and that mind can live non-mechanically in a world mechanical. You've understood something of that. Please listen. Don't absorb what is being said. Just listen. The world about you is created by you. You are confused, you are sorrowful, you are ambitious, anxious, violent, seeking power, position. You want all the material. sensuous things, and therefore you have created that world. That's a fact, whether you like it or not. And a human mind, which is so sensitive, delicate, and extraordinarily capable, can change the world about itself and the world inwardly only when it realizes where knowledge is important and where the known is not important. The knowledge is important, tremendously important. Otherwise you can't go home. Otherwise you wouldn't know your name. Otherwise you wouldn't be able to speak. You wouldn't be able to go to your office. So knowledge is immensely important. But we misuse that knowledge when that knowledge becomes a mechanical process. And a mind that is tremendously serious, concerned with the world, its misery, its confusion, its violence, which has been brought about by thought, a way of looking which is not based on a repetition, which is perceiving, see, and doing. Therefore one has to look into that word to see. What does it mean to see? To perceive. You are seeing the speaker, right? He is there visually in front of you. There is sensory process, and then a cerebration takes place, and then an action. That is, you see the speaker. You have made an image of the speaker. Right? Haven't you? Oh, come on. You have made an image of the speaker because he's got a reputation. You think he's something or other, wise or enlightened or some kind of nonsense you have in your mind. And you look at him with the image you have about him, which you have created. So you are not looking at him at all. You are looking at him through the image which you have built about him. Right? So, listen to this. You have created your gods. Gods haven't created you. Right? You have created your gods according to the image you have about what you think God should be. Right? Now, can you look at the speaker or at anybody without the image which is mechanical? Can you look at a person? Can you look at the speaker without the image that you have built about him? Then you will be able to listen. Then you will be able to see and act instantly what he is saying. But if you have an image about him, then you are judging, saying, does that image conform to the other image of what enlightened man, guru, all that silly group belong to? So can you observe another without the image you have built about him, knowing the image formation is a mechanical response and process. So can you look at the speaker without the image? Then what takes place? Then you listen totally differently. Then that very listening is the miracle. Because that listening transforms with entirely your being.
The second extract is from the first question and answer meeting in Saanen, 1983, and is titled, Can the Mechanical Process of the Mind Stop?
Do we clearly see, each of us, that our brain has become mechanical? We repeat, we live in the past, and the reactions we have are obvious. And the question really is, where does one start? Where does one start to understand the whole problem of existence? Not insight or thinking how to stop thinking, but rather, what is the meaning of all this? If we could start from there and then investigate more and more, deeper and deeper, then we'll come upon something which may be not mechanical. Is that clear? That is, if we can realize that our brains have become mechanical, that is, when you insult another, the other insults you. Action, reaction. Right? Reward and punishment. On this basis, action, reaction, from that reaction, action, and so on, like a tide going in and out. And that's a mechanical process, right? Our memories are mechanical. We live in the past. If I have an experience, and it is an exciting experience, it has brought about several rewards, and I cling to that, which then becomes mechanical. If I am attached to a person, or to an idea, or to some kind of experience, then that being attached, then it becomes mechanical. You repeat over and over again the same thing. Sexual and every other form of repetitive action is mechanical. I hope this is clear. Then the question is, can this mechanical habit, mechanical brain, which has been programmed to be mechanical, because seeking security it is seeking security in the mechanical, constant repetition, repeating that your own prejudices is a mechanical process. I think that's fairly clear. And so the question is whether this mechanical process can stop. Yeah? Suppose one has a habit, either smoking, drugs, alcohol, sexual, and habit of belonging to something, belonging to a group, belonging to some kind of orthodox religion and so on. There you feel safe. There you feel you are among people who also think alike. And this mechanical process gives one a sense of security. This is again fairly clear. I hope you are listening. Are you listening, if I may ask? Because I don't see the point of coming here, going through all the heat and the troubles one goes through, and sitting here and going off dreaming something else while you come to listen to each other. So please let us listen to each other. Which doesn't mean that you must accept what the speaker is saying or cling to your own prejudices, conclusions, and so on. But both of us are understanding a very, very complex problem. The problem is living, existence. And in that existence of our daily life and so on, one finds the brain keeps on repeating the same thing over and over again. You may put a different disc, but it will be the same thing repeated. And so on. So our brains have become mechanical through long evolution, through innumerable experiences, and the brain has accumulated a great many memories and keeps on repeating the memories. You know, we know all this. And therefore, the brain has become mechanical. And in this mechanical process, it seeks security. That's all we want. We all want security, both biological, physical, as well as psychological. And when a brain becomes mechanical, there is secure. One thinks there is security. As long as I repeat that I am British, that I am French, that I am Hindu, there is security. But that divisive process brings about insecurity. Right? That's clear. Now, the question is, before we go into the problem of insight, the question is whether this mechanical process can come to an end. This mechanical process brings about a deterioration in the brain. Right? Do we see this? The brain needs stimulation. The brain needs challenging, questioning, doubting, asking, demanding. But if it is routine, it stops demanding. It stops being sharp, clear. And so gradually it deteriorates. You can see it all round. Perhaps not here. But you can see it from almost from teenagers to old age. I wonder if one is aware of one's own brain deteriorating by constant repetition. You may revolt against the old and fall into another pattern and then repeat that. I am no longer a Christian, but I am a Buddhist. I am no longer a Buddhist, but Tibetan. You know, the game one plays all over the world. So the question is whether the brain can stop deteriorating. That's a really very, very serious question. As long as we are living in the past, which we are, because we live in memory, right? We are memories. And that is the past. There is no future memory. Future memory may be projected from the past, meeting the present, and modifying itself and going on. Right? This is the process we all do. The past, meeting the present, modifying itself, and then proceeding further. But it is still the past in movement. Is it? So, is there a way of looking at life, living, which is not merely the continuation of the past? Right? Have I put the question? I find my brain, suppose I find my brain becoming repetitive. The language is repetitive. The symbols that thought has created become repetitive. Language language is not limited, but the limitation of the language creates the symbols, and so on. I won't go into all that for the moment. So, language, the past memories, being attached, tied to an experience, to series of memories, all those are, because they are mechanical, brings about deterioration of the brain. Is this clear? Can we go on from there? Don't please nod your head and say yes, but see your own brain, watch your own brain, watch your own life. Because your life is the activity of action, reaction, memories, and all the turmoil. The deaths, the pleasures, the anxieties, the loneliness, and so on. That's our life. We have lived that way for 1,000,000 years, or more or less, and that is repetitive. War after war, right? War after war in different parts of the world. There have been 2 terrific wars within the last few years. So that has been repeating. So we've come to that point. I hope you have listened to this. When we have come to that point, one asks, why does the brain depend so much on the past, on being programmed. You understand? Is that clear? Why does the brain depend or live with this repetitive action? We are saying it, this repetitive action gives great security. Freedom doesn't give security. Right? We'll come to that a little later. So, security is the basis of holding on to the past. Tradition is the past. Those soldiers in London going every morning up and down. You've seen all this. Poor devils. So, now we're asking whether the brain can perceive its own mechanical process, and that very perception brings about a challenge to move away from it. You've understood? I perceive that my brain is mechanical, and I perceive it not as an idea, but actually, right? I perceive it. There is the perception that it is mechanical. That very perception is a challenge, right? Are we getting to meeting this? I perceive a dangerous snake. That's a challenge, right? I have to do something about it. Otherwise that poisonous snake will kill me. So I have to act, right? There is action takes place when there is perception, right? Are we meeting this? Look, when one is climbing a mountain and you see a precipice, the precipice is a challenge, isn't it? Either you are very capable and so go on, or you get dizzy and hold on to a rock and crawl back. So in the same way, when you perceive, when there is perception that the brain is mechanical, being programmed, and in that program there is no security. Though one may want security, there is no security because the brain is becoming dull, deteriorating, therefore in that there is no security, right? Right? Clear? So, when there is perception of a danger, there is action. Right? When there is perception that the brain is becoming or has become mechanical, that very perception brings about the energy to end that repetitive action.
The final extract in this episode is from Krishnamurti's fourth talk in Saanen 1974 and is titled, Is There an Area of the Mind That Is Not Mechanical?
We want to find out if there is an energy which is non-mechanical. Right, sir? Because we have lived on an energy that's mechanical. I respond to your insult or to your flattery. I respond according to my conditioning. My conditioning is always the result of the culture I have lived in. economic, social, religious, environmental, and so on. That's all within the field of the known, right? And as long as there is an operation within the field of the known, it must be mechanical, right? Man has recognized this and says there must be an outside agency to change this. Because to live in the field of the known all the time is being living in a prison. And so he says there must be an outside agency. So he begins to speculate, invent, theorize, and say there is God, super consciousness, Atman, and so on and on and on and on. But it is still born out of the known. It is the concept formed by the past. Therefore, it's still within the field of time. Right? So it's nothing new. And in that field we have lived. And in that field there is a certain energy created by thought and friction. That we know. Friction as ambition, friction as envy, friction as the competition and so on. All that. We have lived for centuries on that. In that field. Please, you are watching your own mind, your own life, not my life. You're watching your own ways of thinking, living, behaving, and responding. And when you watch it, you will see it's always mechanical. It's always from the known. The known can project itself as the future, but it's still the known. And in that field, one has enormous energy. As seen in the field of technology, science, the political divisions, quarrels, antagonisms, wars, the extraordinary inventions of destruction and so on, that all that demands tremendous energy. Now we are asking whether there is a field, an area of the mind or brain which has not been touched by the known. Is there a field, an area in the brain which is not contaminated, if I can use that word, by thought? Thought being the response of memory. You're following all this? This is real meditation to find out. Not all the phony stuff that goes on in the world in the name of meditation. How is the mind to find out? You understand? Not invent, not hypnotize itself in the hope of something new because it's in despair, because it is bored with existence and wants something new. So, to find that out, every form of illusion must be totally put aside. Right? You're understanding all this? To have no illusion. Is that possible? what brings about illusion? Why does the mind deceive itself? And why does the mind does not face the fact as it is? Why does the mind refuse to see what exactly is? And wants to cover it up, hide it, escape from it, and go beyond it. Which are all the activities of an illusory act. Right? Why does the mind do this? One says, why does the mind, your mind, refuses to accept a fact? The fact being what is actually going on. Not what should be or what has been, but actually what is going on. The active present is the fact. Whatever that fact is. And if you observe, the mind refuses to face that fact. Is it part of our education? Never come directly into contact with what is. Because we have ideals, because we have a sense of denial of what is, the incapacity to deal with what is. Is that why the mind refuses to face what is? But always plays around it. Right? Why? Is it our education? Which is, be like somebody else. You're not as clever as your brother. You must be somebody in this beastly world. So we are educated to be other than what we are. And what we are, we never find out. Because we're always educated to reform ourselves, to improve ourselves. And is it because we have ideals, which is always over there and never here? Never actual, but unreal. Is it because, basically, fundamentally, we don't know what to do with what is? The incapacity to deal with what is makes us move away from what is. Right? You're following all this? Do please, this is dreadfully serious. Because the world is in a chaos. It's getting worse and worse every day. And a serious man has a responsibility. Tremendous responsibility. How to face this chaos? Religions haven't answered the problem. Not the politicians, not the businessmen, not the scientists. They are just drifting. And the more you drift, the more chaos grows. There's always perpetual threat of war in one place or another. The Greeks and the Turks are going on at it now. So a man who is really very, very serious and knows his responsibility, feels the responsibility, and therefore he has to consider the transformation of his consciousness. Because it's only there is any hope of bringing about a different world, different human being, different kind of education. And that's what it's trying to do. So, is it the lack of capacity that makes us run away from what is? One suffers for various reasons, biological, physical, psychological, intellectual, and so on. One suffers intensely, superficially, or it passes away in a day. Man has never solved this problem of suffering. It has carried on for centuries upon centuries. And he has never faced it and gone beyond it totally. Is it because he has not the capacity to understand it, to look at it, to see what is totally involved in it, the nature, the structure, and the activity of it? And to do that, one must look at it. One must watch it with care, with attention, with that sense of great affection. Because without affection and care, you cannot possibly understand it. But we run away from it, seeking comfort in another field. But the other field is still within the field of the known. And so we go on from suffering to suffering. We'll deal with suffering a little later as we go along. So we are asking, the mind has been trained, educated, religiously, in every way, to operate and function in the field of the known, right? I won't enlarge in that because we've gone into it sufficiently. And man has invented outside agency, which is equally absurd. So question arises, is there any area, I won't use the word part, then we will then ask which part? Is it in the front or the back or the side? You follow? And we get lost in that rigmarole. Is there any area of the mind which is really free from the known? Is there any part of the brain which is not cultivated by thought? This is really important. Please give your attention to this. If we do not find it, then we'll always live in the field of the known, from which thought arises, which is matter. Thought is matter. We've gone into it sufficiently. Thought is matter because it is the response of memory. Memory is held in the brain cells, and from there it responds. Therefore, it's still matter. And any activity of thought is still within the known, and therefore matter. And you may try to worship God, this, and become terribly religious and phony, but it's still within that field. So you have to find out if there is any area of the brain, the mind, that thought cannot possibly enter. Right? To find that out, one must be free of the known and realize its value as function. I'll explain. Go slowly, I'll explain. You understand my problem? First understand the problem. And if we understand the problem will solve, the problem itself will solve itself. The problem is this. Man has cultivated the brain, the mind, giving a wide growth to knowledge. And there must be knowledge, because otherwise I can't speak English. I can't drive a car. I wouldn't know where to go. So knowledge is essential to function. To go into a factory, write a letter, anything. Knowledge is necessary. And as long as the mind lives within that area, it lives in prison. It can decorate the prison, which we are doing. Better bathrooms, better toilets, better cars, better this, better that, and better. You know, the better is the enemy of the good. Think about it. So, can the mind see the fact that knowledge is necessary and yet realize or see the truth that as long as it lives there, it will everlastingly suffer? Because it is based on thought. See the truth of it. And then, can the mind realize its value as knowledge and not be a slave to it? Yep. If the mind realizes something, it is free of it. And yet it has its value. It is not dependent on it. It is not caught in it. It is not enslaved by knowledge. Therefore, a new quality comes into being. A new kind of energy comes into being. Are we communicating with each other? Please give your attention. So knowledge has its relative value. And being relative is not all important. Which we are now making it. Now can you, sitting there, see the reality of this? That you must operate in the field of knowledge and yet not be dependent on it. Therefore, a certain quality of freedom from the known then you can begin to inquire by watching the movement of thought and the source of thought, by watching it, by being aware. Whether there is a demarcation not drawn by thought between the known and something else which is not at the behest of thought, which thought cannot capture at all. Am I? Let me put around this thing differently. When we look at our life, our daily life, we are very materialistic people. We depend on our senses. Our senses dictate our action. We are really totally worldly people. And materialism, which has been the conditioning of our life, in that there are two principal factors: pain and pleasure. As long as we live within that field of materialism, pain and pleasure become extraordinarily important, and there is no escape from that. As long as we live there. I don't know if you understand this. We are materialistic. We depend and react according to our senses, opinions, judgments, evaluations, which are all the product of thought. Right? And thought is matter. And as that has become so extraordinarily important in the world, pleasure and fear are the factors, are the principal factors that drive us to behave or not to behave. Right? And as long as we live in that area, these two factors dominate, and there can be no escape from it. There is no escape from it, because what do you escape to? More pleasure or more fear? More pleasure conceived by thought, or the avoidance of fear by seeking security in isolation. Looking after myself, looking after my country, which I have identified myself, my gods, follow? Gradual identification and isolation. And therefore more fear. Where there is isolation, division, there is inevitably wider and deeper fear. But the mind, being materialistic, pursues pleasure. That's all it has. Its gods, its moralities, its churches, its doctrines, beliefs, everything is based on the pursuit of pleasure. Right? And therefore, more fear. Please do see this. Because we are caught in that. You have your fears and the enormous pursuit of pleasure. The darkening fears, explored and unexplored, all within this area of the known, which is the matter, right? So unless the mind discovers, not as an illusion, not as a hope, not as a belief, not as an idea, discovers an area where thought cannot possibly enter, then only fear disappears entirely. You understand? And therefore, when there is no fear, there is then the understanding of pleasure. Not the pursuit of pleasure, but the understanding of it. Right? Are we meeting each other somewhere? So, do you understand? Can the mind be free from the known and yet see how important the known is? If it sees this, then in the field of the known, the activity of the me does not enter. You see the difference? Have I conveyed it to you? If I see the importance of knowledge and its value, its significance, its necessity, then the me, which has created such great mischief in the world, that me has no place in knowledge. It can't identify itself with knowledge, because knowledge is pure function. But when function becomes status, then it is the operation of the me. You understand? Oh, let's forget it all. Have you got it? Got it? Good. So, in the field of knowledge, objective efficiency, without the ruthlessness of the me entering into it, takes place. Because it's pure function. Therefore, the me has no place at all. See the beauty of it, sir. Therefore, the mind then begins to inquire, look, Where there is any area where it is totally free of the human endeavor. You understand? Human gathering, human struggle, human pain, sorrow. Unless the mind finds that there is no way out. You can invent a way out, but you're still the known, the materialistic. Now, how does one discover this? Obviously, no system. System is still part of the known. Please see all this. Therefore, what is the instrument of inquiry? What is the instrument of observation? You are following? Do you know it? You probably have read a great deal, gone to many libraries, made research or looked into books and the literature of religious literature and the intellectual literature and the existentialism, the other this and that. You must have done all this. And have you found the answer? Or is the first time that you are facing this problem? First time in your life you are faced with this. And you have to find it out. Not through somebody else. Because if you find it through somebody else, it is not true. It's like living in a shadow of another. So when you are confronted with this problem for the first time, as you are, you have no answer. Right? Really, you have no answer. That's a great thing. You understand? It's a marvelous thing to say, I have no answer. I don't know what to do. Knowing that nobody is going to give you a hand to help you out. Knowing that you can't possibly look to another. You understand? You really don't know. Right? That is essential. That is real innocence. Right? Please listen to this carefully. That's deep, inexhaustible innocence. Say, I really don't know. Not that you're waiting for an answer. Not that you're expecting something. Because then you would play that game again. To remain totally in that state of not knowing. Then, out of that not knowing, you've got tremendous energy, haven't you? I don't know if you... Then you're curious, you're not eager for satisfaction. You're not wanting to achieve something. Then in that state of not knowing totally, that not knowing is part of the brain which has not been contaminated. You understand? Are we meeting each other a little bit? Look, sir, I can say I don't know, but I'll find out. I can find out by searching in my memory, or by looking to somebody, or reading in a book. Right? When I say I don't know, that's one of our tricks. I'm expecting an answer from you, from myself, or from somebody else, in a book, or some other so-called idiotic wise man. We have done that. Or I can say I don't know, but do tell me. Still the same thing. Or I can say I really don't know at all. When the mind says that, realizes that, is it not part of that brain, is not that area which has not been touched? You understand? It's very simple if you look at it, if you go into it. It is the part of that brain that actually says, you haven't touched me at all. All these things which man has put together through centuries, I know very well. But when I say I don't know, I've entered, the mind has uncovered a field which has not been touched. You understand? Now, can the mind remain there and function in knowledge? You follow? I wonder if you get this. May I continue? See, we have searched for God, for happiness, for a better way of life. We have invented political philosophies, extreme left, historical materialism, capitalism, socialism. We have invented various gods, saviors, Christ, Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, dozens of them. And man has not been able to solve his problem of sorrow. Because unless he solves that, you cannot possibly come upon that area which has not been touched by thought. And can the mind see its activity, because the observer is the observed, just to observe the activity, not try to change it, not to reform it, not to control it, just to observe it and see what it discovers in the field of the known and be totally responsible for that. That means not to let the knowledge be used by thought as the mean. I wonder if you... Of course. Therefore, I'm only function, no status. Where there is status, there is the me operating. Right? Now, can we do this? Can you do it? Not theory, but do it. In daily life. You know, that means great attention. not the attention of will, just to watch it. As you watch a squirrel playing among the trees, as a child running about, just watch it. Care and affection. Then you will see that the me doesn't enter at all in the field of the known, the operation in the function. Then you have whole area of the mind, the brain, which is totally unoccupied. You know, when there is no occupation, it is free, it is alive, it is moving.